Turning now to Decision 2016 and the all-important early caucus state of Iowa and the first primary in New Hampshire.
The Iowa caucuses are less than a month away on February 1st. The New Hampshire primary is February 9th.
And 24-hour News 8's political reporter Rick Albin here now with how those first two contests are starting to shape up, Rick.
Yeah, and keep in mind that the Michigan primary is less than a month after that New Hampshire primary, though the caucus in Iowa does not directly choose delegates, and it'll involve fewer than 150,000 people. It's still important. It's the first in a test, not always a predictor of ultimate success, but still it will be the first test of organization for some candidates who have been there before, like Hillary Clinton. She hopes to fare better than she did in 2008. And when you take a look at where we are for the Democrats in Iowa, it looks good for her now. She's up almost 50% at 12.8% to Bernie Sanders' 37%. You see back here in October, they were tied, but she's developed some separation there. Let's take a look at the next graphic, though, because when we move on to New Hampshire, things change. There, Bernie Sanders, the senator from nearby Vermont, is up 49 to 44. You see that has crossed a couple of times, and it looks like Clinton is even edging up there, although some concede that if Sanders wins in New Hampshire, he may not have any place else to go. In other words, no place else to go to get traction, but we'll be watching those first two contests for Democrats very closely. Now for the Republicans, this is in Iowa, and again, you see a lot of volatility. This has been Carson when he made that big surge, but you see how far he's gone down. This is Donald Trump, who has been riding high along here, but Ted Cruz is now ahead of him in that first early caucus state. That may say as much about organization as anything. And again, you've got Cruz up by 3, Trump shortly thereafter, and then Rubio drops way back. Let's take a look in New Hampshire. That's where we've got Trump all the way up here at the top. Everybody else is down below, but you see a couple of possibilities down here. Here's Cruz, and Chris Christie is also making some moves in New Hampshire, and some believe that may be the best place for him to make some kind of a stand. But here's what we really have. In New Hampshire, you've got some favorite or native sons that may be able to do better there, but where do they go after New Hampshire? In Iowa, of course, it's always the question of that surprise Iowa win. Does that propel you to something else? And of course, remember in 2000, it was Hillary Clinton who thought Iowa was hers and went to Barack Obama, and we know what the history is on that. So we'll have to see where these things go. They aren't necessarily predictors, but these early races can be very interesting. And in that big Republican field, it can make a big difference.
Yeah, definitely when you start looking at who's placing second and third, not necessarily the winner, but who's still in the hunt.
Yeah, who is still there? Who's alive to that big SEC primary, as they're calling it, Super Tuesday, mostly southeastern states, that comes along on March 1st.